Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the FiveOne Volleyball podcast. A little bit different than the last few weeks, Everett. Even though we
Little
live,
different.
even though we live 15 minutes away from each other, we are doing this
Yes.
remote because I unfortunately tested positive last night for our favorite virus that we spent the last 2.5 years embracing.
You did. You got the vid. Glad to see you're good and healthy and in good spirits. Of course, we still had to do the show. It's just another COVID episode. I had to do one on the 9x9. What was it, in January, February, and now it's your turn.
Also, I'm
And
like
maybe,
I'm like 99% sure I got it playing volleyball as well, so fitting.
ooh, okay, fitting. Yeah,
No masks on the court. Played like 3 times, 2 weeks in a row. So that'll do it. Anyway,
yeah, probably.
on
Yeah,
today's episode, of course, joined here as always, Everett from Volleyball Source, where the YouTube channel where you'll be watching this if you're watching on YouTube, or you can check it out the 5-1 Volleyball podcast feed. We're gonna go over crazy Champions League semifinals
nuts.
once again, 2 years in a row. Crazy semifinals for Champions League. We're also going to go over some transfer rumors and a couple other segments that are kind of tangentially related to the results of the SuperFinals, or Champions League semifinals, and also do give a little early preview of the SuperFinals. So,
Why not?
Everett, where would you like to start? Do you want to go again? A very disappointing Zaksa versus Jastrzebski.
Yeah,
Do you have anything
let's.
to say on that, or not?
Um, no, I mean, what? Zaksa won the first two, 15 and 21, and it was over,
Yeah.
right? That's basically what it was. It's what I expected it to be. You were really high on JW. I'm not sure why. That was pre-COVID too, so you can't even blame it on COVID brain. Um, but yeah, I mean, obviously JW made it interesting coming back and pushing it to a fifth. Probably was just more so annoying for Zaksa than anything else.
Well,
Um,
the Zags
but
have
yeah,
been
I mean,
the bench coming in, and it's a fake fifth set, and we'll get to that later. We'll
yeah,
talk about the rule changes maybe section.
yeah, absolutely, right. So it is what it is. I think Zaksa definitely benefited the most out of any team benefiting the most of having the Russian teams removed. It's potentially Zaksa. Um, their path to the superfinals, I'm not going to say it's illegitimate because you can't say that, but having to beat what, Berlin and then JW, it just it doesn't really hold up to me. So but hey, they got the wins and they made it to the finals, and surprisingly enough, we're going to be having a rematch as Trentino did what I didn't think was going to be possible. Um, Lost the match but won the golden set in
Oh
what
man.
Rob St. Clair described as one of the best Champions League matches of all time.
I mean, it was. It was so reminiscent of those like Zenit Kazan Zaksa battles or the Lube Zaksa battles we had last season. I mean, just the amount of like crazy back and forth volleyball that we've got in the last couple of years here is crazy. Um, yeah, there's so much to talk about with this match. Just one more question about Zaksa before we put that away. Do you think this year's team is better than last year's Zaksa team?
No, I don't. I think that they did a very good job at replacing the big pieces um, that they needed to. Um, but I don't think that, like, we've talked about it before, like the intangibles that Kokonowski and Toniuti and Zatorsky brought to that team. I think that where you get the least amount of drop off is Zatorsky to Eric Shoji, but still Zatorsky was such a stalwart leader on that team. And then the way that
Hey, Eric
Toniuti,
Shoji, he's a good locker room presence as well.
absolutely, he's a good locker room presence, but you can't tell me it's the same as having, living legend, Polish legend Zatorsky in the locker room.
And a guy
Whereas,
who speaks Polish too.
a guy who speaks Polish, he's been around. All of these guys, these young Polish guys, they grew up watching Zatorsky. They watched him win a world championship back in 2014. So Yeah, like I think that they miss a lot. We've talked about a lot about how much that first tempo offense between Toniutti and Kokonowski is really one of the biggest holes that they have. Um, where that first tempo was so quick that you had to respect it. And then I don't think Janus's offense is as varied as Toniotti's at times.
That's a fair point, but I think we've seen this year that when you have that trio of wings, Semeniuk, Slivka, and Kaczmarek, who seem, if anything, even better this year, like you don't even need the first tempo offense because those guys are just scoring efficiently on any kind of set you throw at them. Anyway, we'll get to that later as well. What we're going to break down, maybe do a quick preview of the SuperFinals. But let's hop on back to Perugia versus Trentino. As our buddy Rob said, one of the greatest matches in Champions League history. Everett, I'm going to start off with a point here. This is 2 games in a row for Wilfredo Leon coming up short. And I say this as a guy who owns a Wilfredo Leon jersey. Probably the only guy in Canada who owns a Perugia Wilfredo Leon jersey here. You can't be the best player in the world. You can't be the leader of the team in, 15 for 29? 15 for 39. Getting blocked nine times, Everett. Getting blocked 9 times and 4 unforced errors. And those blocks, 5 from Liesnach, 2 from Mikoletto. I think 1 was just could be any, and then also getting blocked by Spertoli.
Yeah, these numbers don't look great on him. And you know what? He didn't have the greatest of games, and it really seemed like Trentino's game was really to put pressure on him a lot of the time. Like they were going after him on their serves, and they were making him pass every single serve. And like we saw Liesnach with the short serves, and they were making him move, and they put a big load on Leon. They were triple blocking him a lot out of system. I was watching at times Spertoli, before Gianelli even contacted that ball, and that it was clearly like Trentino's serve block game in this one was absolutely impeccable, right? And it's ultimately what would help them create that separation in the 6th in the golden set. But they did such a good job at when Leon was in the front row, putting Trentino's serve receive under duress and forcing them to go high ball to the outside for him. And they were so quick. Like they had 6 hands in front of them so many times throughout this matchup. And yeah, 9 blocks is a lot. And part of it is Leon needs to figure out better, but that's what we were seeing, especially towards the end of that golden set. He's going off the block of Spertoli and out of bounds and high off the hands, but those 9 blocks is really a testament to how good and how solid the team blocking of Trentino is.
And I want to give an MVP blocking performance here to Sreko Liesnach, who just got a couple solo kill blocks on Mr. Leon in this match. Was everywhere. I mean, having middles like that ended up being so impactful for Trentino. Those 2 guys, I mean, they were just playing at such a higher level than Soleil and Mengozi in this one. It was that's part of where the battle was won and lost as well. Was right down the middle. But yeah, Leon getting blocked 9 times, and another interesting Leon attacking side. This is not necessarily his fault. Mr. Wilfredo Leon, another one. 36 attacks on the left side and only one pipe attack for the entire match.
Wow. Only 1 pipe attack. And I mean, ultimately that's what happened in that last point, right? Where they who was it? Penali hit a bomb at him and he passed it up and he just wasn't an option at all in the back row. They went to Rich Licky and he put it out long. But you're right. It seemed like, I really think that was part of Trentino's game plan, right? Was to put all of that pressure on him in serve receive and take him out as much as possible from those back row attacks.
Yeah, and you compare that to 7 pipe attacks for Mikoletto. So Spertoli running a lot more varied offense because, and again, I looked through all those Leon attacks, and it's just he's going up against triple blocks, and so
It's I think
We gave all
it's
this praise to Gianelli. But what is he doing differently at the end of the day than Travica was?
to me it's right now it's how he's utilizing the middles. Like if you look at the middle numbers here for Perugia, I mean Soleil 11 attempts over six sets. That's not enough, right? That's a world class attacking middle. Whereas Mengozi had 6 attempts. Fabio Ricci only had 5 attempts. So you're only going what? Like you're only going like what 22 times in total to the middle, like across 3 guys over 6 sets. And at that point, it's just becoming a high ball offense to the outsides. And yes, Perugia, if any team has that ability to play that way, with Anderson. And I mean, Anderson quietly had a really good game over here with 20 kills, 65% attacking, only 4 errors overall.
Definitely
right?
a redemption game for Mr. Anderson after we criticized him in the last week.
Yeah, exactly. He took some heat, especially on the Discord. But at the end of the day, like they just didn't utilize their middles good enough. And if you look at it too, it's not even like they didn't pass well enough. I mean, they passed decently, 53% positive and 29% excellent. Way better than Trentino's numbers, by the way. And Trentino was able to activate their middles more than Perugia. So to me, it's just that dominance down the middle where Trentino had them, both on the offense and the defensive side. That's really the hole that Perugia had.
Well, and I think there's one big thing that we're missing as well. Another huge element to Perugia's game, the service. And in this game, only 4 aces and what was it, 27 service errors for Perugia. So when you're thinking about the concept of this Perugia team, with Oleg Plotnitsky, with Wilfredo Leon, now with Simone Gianelli, with Sebastian Soleil, like all these really top players, Matt Anderson, like a bunch of really strong servers, especially Leon. When you have Leon on your team, you're a serving team. And again, second game in a row, 9 service errors for Wilfredo Leon, which, you know, he's almost missing every time he comes around. And yeah, okay, he's still putting bombs in, but 27 errors is that's like, even though it was a longer match.
Are you on the volumetrics stats?
Yeah, I'm on volumetrics.
Mine are a little bit different. 28 errors.
Okay.
I have on based off of the CEV, 10 attributed to Mr. Leon.
Oh, 10.
So
even worse. Oh no.
Even worse, right? So, but 4 aces for him. So, but still, like a 4 to 10 like serve to ace to error ratio.
So good. I'll take it.
Yeah, it's still all right, but you know, to me, it was just it seemed as well that Trentino worked way better as a team. Whereas there was a few moments in that golden set specifically where it didn't, like, Perugia wasn't sure what they were doing in out of system scenarios, right? Where the libero wasn't taking that ball decisively. Leon was miscommunicating and bobbling a ball. Whereas it seemed like in every single scenario, like Trentino knew what was going to happen, right? And at a certain point, like, you're not going to be able to stop Wilfredo Leon from scoring. You're not going to be able to stop Matt Anderson from scoring. They're going to happen, even if you put 3 sets of hands in front of them. Even if you serve tough, but if you can anticipate exactly what's going to happen enough times, like, the ball is going to bounce your way eventually.
It seemed like Mikoletto plus Lisanach plus Kaziski or Lavia. That can definitely slow some hitters down. That's an impressive blocking lineup.
Yeah, but especially even more impressive that Kaczynski only played sets 1 through 4, and then at that point they went to Lavia for set. Like, did Pinali? Yeah. Did Pinali come in the 4th set, or did he come in later on? Why can't I find this? Yeah, so he came in in the 4th set, and I mean, Kaczynski wasn't great. He was 11 for 22. Passed pretty good, but eventually they just went to that regular system and had Pinali on the right side, and I mean, hey, Pinali made a few good plays, like especially that last swing there at 16-15. So, Trentino, they're just such a cohesive team, and it doesn't matter. They're so interchangeable that you can take out a legend like Kaczynski, bring in Pinali, and they don't even miss a beat.
Well, that's because Lavia, Mikoletto, Pinali, Spertoli, they've all been literally, first of all, training together since they were like children,
Yeah.
but literally have been like in the same locker room since for the last 2 years straight, because they almost go straight from SuperFinals last year into training camp for the Italian team. And then you're doing the Italian team training camp, then you go to the European Championships, and you win the European Championships, you go right back into training camp for Trentino. That's definitely a good amount of chemistry, good amount of camaraderie. Plus, Pedestrian and Lisanach. I mean, I think great idea keeping those two guys together, because they are.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Keep the
very
Serbs
funny
together. Why
guys,
not?
very easygoing guys. I can see how they would definitely set the tone as leaders on the team, but also, I promise you, they don't put too much pressure on themselves. Like this is all free money for Trentino, right? This is not the expectation going into this year, I don't think. So,
Hell no. Well,
yeah.
I like, what was it? Tommy and Monty and I did a preview show, and we were ranking them. Like, we thought they might rank in underneath like Monza and Piacenza, and
Yeah.
here they are, pushing. I mean, hey, what we're gonna have to see what happens in the playoffs this weekend, right? So
Right.
they could be in a weird position where they get kicked out in the quarterfinals of the Superlega, but are going to the superfinals for Champions League. But that's how it goes sometimes.
Well, like Zaksa last year when they got beat by Jastrzebski in the Plus
I mean,
League.
at least they're losing in the finals. It's not like, like
Yeah.
because think about it, they could potentially win this year and not be in Champions League next season. And that's exactly what, like, if they lose to Piacenza, what is it, either today or tomorrow or Sunday? I don't really know what the schedule's like. But yeah, so it's honestly, I didn't think this Trentino team was going to have enough in the tank, especially with the way that they played against Piacenza in the playoffs last weekend. I thought that they kind of emptied the tank to play against Perugia in the Champions League last week, and I thought that they were going to come out flat, but they did completely the opposite.
Hey, they're just saving their energy for Champions League. It's the more important competition, maybe. Speaking of the format in Champions League, maybe we can get into that a little bit now, because
I love this conversation. You're baiting me right now.
of course, we have 6 weeks now to the SuperFinals, and so I definitely will say, being on the other side of this, there's it's not easy to find a host. It's not easy to find time slots that fit with all the teams, because they have their regular season schedules as well, and you can't schedule anything near a playoff game because you need to get all the teams in a few days before, do media, set everything up. It's not a logistically easy thing, especially when considering men and women. However, 6 weeks is too long, in my opinion, for fans to wait. Everett, so this sparked an idea in my head. Do you have how would you change the Champions League format?
Well, format like the competition format or the schedule format, because
However you want to approach it.
I think right now, I don't know if it's like, to me, it's probably the leagues having a hard cap of, hey, this needs to be done by this, like Champions League needs to be not happening between these dates, right? And I do understand how they want to have that continue a little bit. So it's really gonna have to come down to, like, either convincing the leagues to have Champions League at the same time as playoffs, which I don't think you really have. Like, I don't think that's a really, it's a hard ask. It's a very hard ask, especially when you consider how different leagues have different playoff formats and could have different strains on different players and stuff like that. But I do think that this traditional way that we do it, all we do is copy the soccer model. You have you have to qualify to get into the pools, and then you play the pools, and then it's whatever the top 8 teams with quarterfinals on. I think in soccer they go round of 16 on, right? I don't know if that's the best format, and I've talked about it before. I would love to see, just instead of having the Champions League, the CEV Cup, and the Challenge Cup, bring everyone into one pot, rank them 1 to 64, and then just have like little mini tournaments like we've seen, like we love to do in volleyball, and do it your traditional kind of tiered system. You got 3 teams per tier. You play each other. At the end of it, first place teams moves up, second place team stays, last place team moves down. You have a few weeks of that to allow some upwards and downwards movement. Let it shake it out a little bit. Once you get to a certain point, then you go into playoffs. That's what I would love to see. I just don't know. I've never like timed it out to see like how viable is it with how many matches you would need. You know, there's a lot of variables there to look under, but I think there's something to be said there that the current format that we run our Champions League in, it leaves a lot to be desired.
Good points all around. What do you think about golden sets? Are you a fan of those? Because it was pretty exciting.
Oh, I love golden sets.
It was pretty exciting.
I love that idea. Like, I love overtime in general. Yeah. You know, that's why it's great that the NFL is changing their overtime policies. Like, there's nothing better than overtime hockey. Like, when you go into that extra set in tennis when you're all tied up at 5 sets or like 6 sets apiece, love it. Like, when it just adds a lot more pressure. I especially love it that it's 15 points. More and more, and this is kind of would be in a much bigger conversation, but more and more I'm starting to think that 25 points is too much for indoor volleyball. And in every set, you're going to have a lull, right? I love the sprint to 15 points. And yeah, I love the idea of a golden set. Let's not draw it out. Let's just do 1 set to 15. It's a sprint. You got to battle it out. And I mean, like, look how exciting it was. We thought Perugia is dead. They went down 8-2. Trentino's rolling. Mikoletto misses a serve. And the next thing you know, Leon's teeing off an ace to make it tied up at 14-14. Like, that's so much drama. When you have that short of a time and so much on the line, it just breeds epicness.
I have to agree. Golden sets are very cool, and they have produced some of the best moments in Champions League history. However, I kind of disagree with the principle of it in the fact that we're trying to win games in volleyball. We're not trying to win sets.
Okay.
So in my opinion, like the set battle shouldn't factor in unless you're comparing like pool rankings. When we're going head to head, it needs to be a best of 3 or best of 1. We got to go odd numbers. That's my
okay. So you want to,
yeah.
But then, how would you determine in a Champions League scenario, for example, say in a hypothetical scenario with you have 4 pools, and in the semifinals you have all first place teams. How do you determine who gets to host that third rubber match, right? Because at that point, you know, you can't determine first place through what, so you can't give advantage to the higher ranked team. So how are you going to determine that rubber match?
It's got to play it in Luxembourg. Play it at the Cock Pavilion.
Play it in Luxembourg. Yeah, I don't think either of the teams would be happy with that.
No, that's you know, logistically, I agree. That is definitely probably the sticking point because, yeah, there's no way to go across pools realistically.
Especially too, like, are you at that point, like,
you could make something up.
Yeah, plus I don't know.
The one thing I hate the most, more than anything, is like we saw Zaksa and Jastrzebski Wegiel.
I do agree. I agree with that. The 2-set win is terrible.
Yeah, the 2-set win. That's not. It's just so weird. It's like you're playing basketball and you hit 70 points and then you just bring the bench in and you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, you're leading after 3 quarters and you're just like, yeah, we're done.
And that's all we need. And then you lose the game. You're like, joke's on you. We won the. I don't like that. And there's similar issues in Nations League as well sometimes, but.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we've seen it at the World Championships as well too, right? Yeah. So yeah, I think that to me is a question. I would almost rather see, like, hear me out, rather than having it be like a best of 5. I'd rather see your game be like a best of, like, if instead of best of 5, make it a best of 4. And if you do tie it up, then you have the extra round, but it's still a win. You know, it's not a lesser win.
Okay. Interesting.
You know what I mean? Like, you need to win 3. It's still the same thing. Never mind. I was just trying to rebox it.
It's not as easy. It's not as easy as it sounds. Okay, no. Before we move on, the one change I've been begging to make in Champions League since I've been involved with it. is they need to qualify the winner of CV Cup to Champions League automatically.
100%. But this is exactly why, like, I think my system would be way better. Is like we would erase all of that. Eventually you could coordinate off. Like once you have the playoffs, you go, teams like 1 through 16 are in the top group, and teams 1 through whatever are in this group.
Kind of like a beach volleyball type thing.
Exactly. Right? Like when you play like men's league beach volleyball, and you just, have the tier system.
All right. Okay.
That's what I think would be the best, because it just allows for all of those teams. And I mean, of course, you could use the previous years. So if like Russia 1 finishes 1 and then Italy 1 finishes 2, you would have those rankings, and then whoever qualifies for the next year is just slots in that. So like Luxembourg 1 is probably slotting in at 64 and is going to stay there the entire time, right? And that's how I'd like to see it. Just bring everyone in, because
and then you still have everyone play, which is one of the main criticisms that people have of some of the alternatives suggested, is that these smaller clubs in smaller countries do get a lot of benefit out of, and they do really like playing in pan-European competitions. So
yeah,
so it'd be tough to cut them out completely if you're going.
Yeah, no, you wouldn't want to cut them out completely, but you want to have like playing against like, and similar skill sets playing against similar skill sets, right? And you want to have the ability, like Guidetti has talked about it, like what benefit does Vakufbank have to travel up to Finland to play Salo? Just like LP Salo, like they just don't, right? Whereas I think if you, like, especially on the men's side, if you get those like France versus Germany versus Turkey battles versus Greece, sometimes like Belgium, like that's where it gets interesting. That's where it gets fun. But half of Champions League, especially in the group stage, is like we know the 2 teams are going to be moving on. We know how this is going to go. One team is going to go 6-0, another team is going to go 4-2, and then like so on and so forth. So let's change it up a little bit. Let's create a system that benefits volleyball. Let's not just create a system because soccer did it first.
Well said.
Honestly, sometimes I feel like volleyball tries to be that little brother to soccer, and they're just running around like, "Hey, you guys, wait for me." They're just.
I think it's not as intentional as you're making it sound. I feel like it's just a result of so much cross pollination with FIFA and UEFA. And
oh yeah, 100%.
So there's not enough North Americans.
You're not wrong.
Okay. Next topic here. Let's do a preview of the SuperFinals here, Everett, because we know our teams. We know Zaksa Trentino, a rematch. A Polish team getting to the SuperFinals again. The dam has been broken. It's flooding now. Trentino was on no one's predicted list to make the SuperFinals. What are your initial thoughts here on this matchup?
I mean, hey, it's a lot of fun that it's going to be the rematch. I think it's 2 teams that play very tidy volleyball, and obviously they both have phenomenal pieces, but we're not talking about like a Leon level talent out there. Like no one is really going to blow you away. I think the match is going to be a well thought out match. I'm a little disappointed that it's not a 2-game series, because I would love to see a 1-game matchup go down and then have the answer. Yeah. I want to see
one
the
game
adjustments.
Is so much better.
No,
on numbers, Everett. On numbers.
I don't know. I just like to see, like, man, could you think about that? Like I would love to see them on back-to-back days. Play like a Friday, Saturday, or like a Saturday, Sunday. That would be awesome.
But then you have a golden set, and then you have these
amazing. A golden set for Champions League. That's fantastic. That's beautiful. Like Rob almost cried after the game yesterday. He said it so himself on the broadcast. And I mean, I'm not getting that emotional about it, but still, it was phenomenal. There's so much drama involved that I would love that. But I love the idea of being able to answer and to like switch up your game plan and play it again. Just specifically in this scenario, because I think it's 2 teams that, because they haven't seen each other since last year at this time, and they've both changed so much, right? Like Zaksa is arguably still there's a lot of similar pieces, whereas on the other side, other than Mikoletto, This is a much different, Trentino team.
No Namir, no Gianelli, no Lucarelli. That's like so.
So,
You're losing three of the best players at their position, and they're back
and
in the superfinals.
what's crazy too, though,
You think they're better
is
than
that
last year?
I think they're better than last year.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
I think they're better than last year. Oh, in this scenario, my chair just fell. But yeah, no, I think they're better than last year. Like last year, I was Team Zaksa. I'm picking them, and I mean, I think everyone was. The whole Discord was. But no, this year, I think I'm Team Trentino. I like if Trentino can come and be healthy, like I'm assuming they will be in May. Then yeah, I'm Team Trentino.
I don't know. I think Zaksa is in a really good position here because they're so different than any of the teams that Trentino's going up against in the Super League that have had a lot of success against, like these huge serving, these big physical teams like Perugia, whereas Zaksa is a lot more of a finesse team. And you can't really just throw up like these huge serves and these huge blocks. You can't have Liznach and pedestrian roaming and just like crushing balls.
Trentino's a finesse team too, right? Out of all the teams, you would have to make the argument in the Superlega that like Trentino is the most finesse team, like them in Milano, which is what makes that first round matchup so
That's what I mean. I think Zaksa is the better finesse team than Trentino. I think Trentino is able to win these games because they could out finesse the big guns, whereas I don't know.
I don't know. That's what I think that these are two teams that are evenly matched, right? And I think when you put it up against them, and I mean obviously, I think Trentino, despite on paper having taken a step backwards, have actually taken a step forwards, whereas Zaksa has taken a slight step backwards from last year. So yeah, I think it's. I also just realized just now that you have a Trentino background, so.
Yeah, I love. I like a lot of the guys on that team. Spent a lot of time with them at Eurovolley, and actually at the SuperFinals last year. Mikoletto, very cool guy. So I like Zaksa too. Though I just chose this background because of that amazing game, and to hide my messy office here.
Hey, you've got COVID, so we're going to give you a break on that.
So we'll break down. Obviously, this is just a light sampling of a heavier breakdown for the SuperFinals, but we don't want to give away too much because there's so much time ahead here. So Everett, I posed a couple questions to you here before the podcast. First one related to the SuperFinals, kind of. Is Simone Gianelli overrated?
Coming into this match, I would have said absolutely not. Or coming in before this match, I would have said, absolutely not. And I still think my answer is no. I don't think he's overrated in the slightest. Do I think he was part of the problem for Perugia in this series? Yes. We talked about the numbers of going to the middle and how he was using his middles. I think in times, especially in the past month or two, when we've seen Perugia be really successful, he's utilized those middles. Soleil has been putting up double-digit numbers, right? Mengozzi has been getting into the action. Even Fabio Ricci, when he's coming in off the bench, is getting into it. But only giving 22 attempts in total for your middles over 6 sets. That's not enough volume, and to me, that only comes down to your setter's decisions. Yes, I'm absolutely sure that Leon's demanding a certain amount of volume, but that's your job as the setter to try to navigate that. And I mean, let's be honest, they didn't have a great game overall. It looked like Trentino was going to be able to just win it outright at a certain point, and Perugia was going to be able to come back. So I think maybe Gianelli has benefited over the past few years of playing in that Trentino system, and that Trentino system is very similar to the Italian system, where he's kind of working with everyone, and it's a very, very collaborative effort. Everyone is all hands on decks, whereas maybe he's not as good as game management when you're having to deal with those type of things, right? I would have to go back and watch quite a bit more from the volumetrics angle as opposed to
Yeah, for
the
sure.
broadcast angle, just to see a little bit more. But I also think that like Gianelli at the end of the day is still learning and is still growing, and it seems like he's a veteran in this game, but he's still relatively
I mean,
young.
he's not that young, is he? I
What
mean,
what's he sitting at?
it's 95, I think. So he would be 20,
Uh,
26, 27.
okay, yeah, he's kind of getting okay. Maybe you're
I
right, but
mean,
still, like,
he's been
I
around
still,
like a while. I agree.
yeah, I still think that I think that basically you have the ability to, like, I think he had a bad game. I think he had a bad series,
Yeah.
and that there was things that he would change if he could go back. But would I falter? Like, if I was Perugia, would I go out and get another setter? Hell no.
No.
Right? There's so few people that you could pick up that are going to be better than him. And at the end of the day, I just think that maybe what we're seeing is a change in volleyball where if you have a player like Leon, he doesn't have the ability to dominate as good as he could before, because that quality of young players
Ah.
is coming up so high. You know, I was actually listening to Kevin Durant on JJ Redick's podcast earlier today,
Okay.
and you know they were kind of talking about how much better these young players are becoming, and how hard it is to dominate, because you know, like, back when Durant was coming up in the game, we could have never imagined, like, you know, it was LeBron and Durant and Kobe, but now we've got, you know, the Nikola Jokic and obviously Luka, Pascal Siakam. You've got all these guys coming in from different areas, and I think we're seeing that exactly in volleyball, where we've got all of these guys who are coming up and who are so good and so young that maybe that high ball style of volleyball that Leon really dominated at when he was at Zenit Kazan, and like they're trying to bring to this Perugia team, maybe it's just not conducive anymore in the modern era of volleyball.
Yeah, especially in volleyball, in my opinion, like where I think we're still such a far away from like the skill ceiling. Like I think there's still so many areas to explore. I still think technically it's still, and especially physically and athletically, it's still like a relatively, well, at least when you compare it to like a football or a basketball or something like that, there's still a lot of stuff to discover, especially like analytics. I feel like are not even close to where they could be in volleyball as well. But all very fair points with Mr. Gianelli, and I think one thing we always have to bring up with Simone is that he's such a good like locker room presence as well. Like he is a natural leader, very charismatic guy. He's gonna bring the team together. Tough. There's a lot of personalities on this team. Although I have to say, actually, everyone on this team's pretty chill with Matt Anderson and Leon. But the one thing, other than his setting, I wasn't seeing from Gianelli in this series was just like the extra stuff, the blocks, the serves, the digs, because that's what I want Simone Gianelli on my team for. There's a lot of guys who can set a ball to four as well as Simone Gianelli. Lots of guys. But there's not a lot of 6'6" guys who can, you know, target, have a very strong jump serve, play really good defense for their size. Only 2 points in this series. 2 points, which is
Wow,
it's pretty low for Gianelli. Both of them blocks.
that's yeah, absolutely, and especially when you consider that the series had 11 sets in it.
Yeah.
Right, that's a lot of volleyball played, and that's not a lot of output. And you know what? I think that just kind of lends credence to what I was kind of saying before, that as good as this Perugia team is, there's just something that doesn't quite fit with them quite yet. And I mean, maybe it's similar to, you know, LeBron going to Miami in his first year and not being able to quite find that fit before they made it work. But yeah, like it seems that he's kind of stepped away since being with Perugia. He's stepped away from being with that player. And I mean, especially when he was with Trentino, a lot of the times like he was that guy, so he had to bring that extra attitude and that extra you know, those extra plays to the game. Whereas now he's just trying to focus on being the setter, and I think that's ultimately to the detriment of Perugia and any team that he's on.
Yeah, only 12 digs in this one too, behind Mr. Matt Anderson and Massimo Colacci, around the same as Leon. So yeah, I don't know. There's not a lot of fingers left to point here in Perugia. They could definitely redeem their season. They still have a very good shot at winning the Superlega title. Champions League there's such a small sample size. Anything can happen. We've seen.
Sorry, go ahead.
We've seen this happen plenty of times where these like super expensive mega teams just fizzle out. I mean, it's not even that early, right before the end in the closest possible way. But
yeah, exactly. I mean, I think it's tough sometimes, but I think it's Scudetto or bust right now for Perugia.
Oh yeah. I would still peg them as favorites for the Scudetto. I think.
Yeah, me too.
I think all this talk that we're doing, it's good analysis, but at the end of the day, like it really, I think a lot of it came down to the service. If they make 5 less errors and 4 more aces, then this series is done. As so often is the case in volleyball, especially with a team like Perugia. So, anyway, we'll see. Season's not over yet.
No.
I had one more question though, to not to be so negative here. Alessandro Mikoletto, does he have, or is it too early to call, greatest of all time potential volleyball player?
No, not after this.
I'm not saying he is the GOAT. Does he have the potential if his career goes a certain way? Is it too early to talk about it?
No, and after this series, and it's like he's had such an evolution in my mind of first being like, oh, that's cute, the young lefty, like he looks so cute out there.
Used to be a libero,
used to be a libero. Like remember when Trentino was trying to qualify for Champions League at the beginning of last season, and they're playing Dinamo Kazan, and Dick Coy was injured, and Lucarelli wasn't playing great, and here comes Mikoletto, and we were just like, just play even, just pass a few balls, get a few continues, maybe get a few kills, because he did kind of come in. He was like a little bit shy and a little bit awkward and a little bit lanky, but you've just seen him grow. And I think he's starting to, it's very reminiscent to me of a young Giannis, of like, he's starting to like come into his own body. And it's almost like he's Iron Man, where he's like just discovering all of these different levels of himself. And he's really starting to find that peak. And I think you have to now consider him as amongst that elite level of outsides. Like it's like, we had that conversation of who would you want as a young player between Mozic and Yant and Mikoletto. And to me, there's no question anymore. It's Mikoletto. Just look at the things he's doing. Look at the shots he's making. He's an absolute unicorn, and no one is like him in the game right now.
Yeah, this is like we were talking about. The ceiling is so much higher in volleyball that we give it credit for. But I don't think I've ever seen a player make the leap that he did last summer. And if you think about what his summer was, it was SuperFinals, where that's a tough loss against Zaksa. Then you go right into Nations League, where he played the entire time, and then you go into Olympics, where he was on the Olympic team, and then you go into European Championships and you win the whole thing, and like you were definitely the second choice for MVP of the championship, and probably could have made a legitimate argument that he could have been the MVP as well. And then hit the ground running, Trentino, but of course that's a pretty good setup there to going through all those tournaments. And he added the attacking to his game. He improved his serving a bunch. He got way stronger. Like it's just everything is coming together. Like I was like, okay, if this guy can like block and pass, that's amazing. He's going to be a really good starter for Italy. But then he just added the serving and attacking, and not only added it, like he's one of the leading scorers of the Superliga and one of the best attackers in position 4 in volleyball. So yeah, very, very impressive. But I think, when we're saying the GOAT, who are you comparing him to? Because for me, it's although it hasn't gone his way the last few years, but it's still probably Wilfredo Leon.
But I mean, that's exactly it. Like he's going toe to toe with Leon. Like he's putting up better numbers than Leon. Right, and he's doing it with a lesser supporting cast than Leon.
But
right,
But I'm saying, do you think he has the potential to reach the accolades that Leon has, where he's winning, 5 Champions League, where he's, the best server, best scorer of Russia and Italy pretty much every year, where multiple MVPs?
No, because I think volleyball is more skilled than it was then, and we have more quality players than we did then. I think that it's like that Zenit Kazan team was able to dominate for so many years because like going back to Matt Anderson, that's exactly when Matt Anderson was a top 5 outside and a top 5 outside opposite, right? That's when Leon was the best player in the world. Plus you had Mikhailov, who was also another top 5 opposite. I think, and then like once you got past those guys and like the next few, like the gap fell off so hard. Like, yeah, you had like a few good teams and like Perugia, or yeah, whether it's Perugia or Lube or Modena, maybe Trentino a few times, but ultimately like that was it. I think it's also going to be more difficult for Mikoletto too, because let's be honest, this whole, as we're going to look up at the transfers in a little bit, this whole thing with Russia is really kind of blowing a lot of things up, right?
Yes.
And a lot of that quality of foreigners who usually would go play in Russia are now coming into either Poland or Italy. So it's just going to create a bigger concentration of the best players, thus making it harder for Mikoletto.
True, but also a great thing for fans because that
great thing.
I would love a bigger. I know there's no way of making it fair, but I would love a bigger concentration of talent. But you're right. I think also one thing about that we have to what that Zenit Kazan run is like, yeah, the Champions League didn't go as deep. I feel like now you have like 4 or 5 really like elite teams every year, whereas maybe like 10 years ago it was 2 or 3. It wasn't quite as difficult to get through.
Yeah, exactly. Like the top of the top teams are going to be able to make it. I mean, like in the past 10 years, we've seen teams from like Germany and Turkey and France, maybe not so much France, but definitely like Germany and Turkey. We've seen these teams make deep runs at Champions League tournaments, right? Where that's just not happening now because of how much quality we're seeing in places like Poland and Italy.
Yeah. All right. So guys, let us know in the YouTube comments, is Gianelli overrated? Does Mikoletto have a chance to be the GOAT? I feel like no one ever talks about that in volleyball. Like
no, it's so hard and it's so subjective.
Yeah, it's in position versus position in volleyball, so distinct.
Exactly. So it's difficult, but I mean, hey, from what he's already done in his young age, and like how old is Mikoletto?
He's 2002, so
2001.
Oh, 2001. Okay, right.
So he's what, 22? 20? No, he'd be 20.
No, 20, 21.
20. He's December 5th of 2001. So he turned 20 in December, and so he's not 22 yet or 21 yet. He's just 20. But yeah. That's
also a very funny guy. I liked interviewing him when I have got the opportunity to in the past. Okay, so for our next, I guess, last segment here, Everett and I thought it would be kind of fun to go over just some of the transfer rumors on volleyball. See what's percolating up in there, and we can kind of have some fun with it. Discuss, what the potential ramifications of these moves would be. I'm gonna pull it up. Oh, that's the wrong window here. Let's pull it up. Transfer rumors. There we go.
And then we can also discuss some that we've also heard as well.
Yes, exactly. I'm just going to pull up the transfers here. Okay. No, why is it trying? Okay, there we go. All right. I guess you can't see it, but we probably on the same page.
Yeah, I've got it up.
All right. So none of this is official, guys. So we'll
some of them are.
We'll confirm it if we can confirm it, but just unless we say otherwise, treat it as just a rumor. Everett, any that jump off the page for you right away?
Oh, I'm on the wrong page. I'm looking at technically last year's. All right. Well, I mean, starting off, like I'm going to start with one that is a done deal, and that's going to be Yuji Nishida heading back to Japan, heading back to play for JTech. Played 1 year, definitely got the short end of the stick playing for Vibo with everything that happened with Douglas leaving, just how that team was constructed, all that stuff. I would have liked to have see him stay in Super Lega for 1 year just to see him kind of battle it out and see where he'd fall. I won't be I'm not upset about him leaving because it means that Power Volley and Titans Volley won't be making garbage videos about him being the best player in the world.
They still will.
They still will. You're not wrong, but at least won't be like, the time that Nishida and Zaitsev played each other and they got 9 points together combined in the match, but we're still going to talk about them. So ultimately, it would have been great to see him thrive a little bit and, do some stuff. I still think he's to put up some good numbers, but ultimately, I think Japan is where he belongs, right?
No, he's
why not?
He's way too good for Japan. He's way too good. He should be playing in Italy. Like he was clearly good enough. I don't know. Like remember, we always forget how young Yuji Nishida is. He's like the same age as Mikoletto almost. Like he's still a young guy. 2000, yeah. Although I was wrong on Mikoletto, so I could be wrong on that one. We saw he's one of the best servers in the entire Super League last year. Like obviously there was a ton of like drama behind the scenes stuff that went on with that team, and it kind of sucks. I think that his Super League experience was kind of tainted like that, because I definitely think that it would probably went differently in his head before he was coming over. And the culture shock, Japan versus Italy, it's tough. And he'll make a lot of money in Japan. He get tons of endorsement deals. Get to be the star, the face of the league. There's a lot of benefits. I completely understand why I would do it, but I just think he needs to test himself. He needs to go up against the best, because I think he does have potential to be one of the best opposites in the world, or at least top kind of 15, 20. And I don't think he's there yet. And I don't think he'll ever get there if he's gonna, be hitting
Scoring finish.
And I don't think he's going to get there by hitting 50 balls per game against 5'11" blockers.
You don't think he's in the top 20 opposites in the world now?
Sorry, top 10. You're right. You're right to call me out on that. Because I have him right outside the top 10 kind of thing. But it's still big. He's a very good player, but he's good enough to play outside of Japan. I thought Italy was the perfect for him because Ishikawa was there, and you have.
I think it was really just like you're playing for a shitty club.
Yeah.
Like you're playing, you're playing for a bad club, and you had a bad experience. Because let's be honest, everything I doubt the support systems from Vivo behind the scenes are good.
Remember Ben Patch had issues with the club as well.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that it's just one of those things that if he had gone and played for a Trentino or a Milano, even like Piacenza, a Monza, hell, even maybe if Cisterna, maybe it would be better.
Cisterna could have probably used him.
Yeah, absolutely. they could have, right? But you know what? It is what it is. He's heading back to Japan, and we'll see if he comes back.
I really hope he does. I really hope he does, because I really enjoyed watching him. I tuned into so many Valencia games that I should never have watched this year, just to watch him play, because he's fun. A little less dynamic outside of the Japan system, though. I will say that. Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, looking at some of these rumors, let's see the first one that jumps off the page for me. Number one that I'm seeing right here. Nomori Keita, the dynamic Malian, he's from Mali, out of Africa. He has been crushing it, dropping 50-point games in Korea the past few years. He is rumored to be replacing Mads Jensen at Verona next year. That's the first one.
That's an upgrade. I'll say that.
That's a massive upgrade. And I mean,
I doubt very many people watching this or listening to this have watched a lot of Korean League. I actually have. I mean, I've watched a couple of games, and the guy's got a cannon. He also definitely one of the best athletes in volleyball, for sure.
Yeah, 100%. And it's he actually originally spent some time in the Perugia system, right?
Where I did not know that.
He has trained with Perugia. I've seen stuff on Instagram and stuff like that. He's played a little bit in Serbia as well, has been lighting it up. for the past few seasons in Korea. But I mean, this is a classic Verona move. Go get a young,
I love that.
somewhat
I love that.
unproven, physical opposite and see how it works. But yeah, Nomuri Keita to Verona. I mean, some people might have found their next favorite volleyball player next year. I truly believe that. Like, he is a fun, dynamic player. He's got star power. He loves playing with the crowd. So hopefully get some good crowds from him.
And he's kind of unique. You always love a unique player. It's that kind of windmill attack. You've seen his windmill attacks. Those are hilarious.
I would be interested to see him play in Italy compared to Korea. You know, he can kind of do whatever he wants in Korea, and I wonder if he can make that transition.
I think based on what I've seen, he's still going to be comparable pretty favorably to most opposites in Italy even. He's a very athletic guy, and I'm pretty confident. I think he's going to hit the ground running. I think he's going to be better than Mads Jansen, who I'm not as critical of Mads as you are, but yeah. Probably Superliga starting opposite was not his destiny.
No, definitely not. And then once you go right underneath that, the next rumor that I'm seeing here, Flavio, who was the one bright spot for Vibo this year, potentially heading to Perugia, which would really help with the discussion that we just had.
Yes. I mean, Flavio, probably Soleil still I would take, but Flavio's still one of the best middles, super athletic guy, definitely a different player than Soleil. He's got quite a hammer, very strong attacker, can run a few different routes as well. Perugia, I mean, maybe they're like, okay, we gotta get some better middles to match up against the Pedestrians and the Lisenaches and the Simones of the world. Because yeah, I guess that is a weakness for them. I like Flavio. I'm glad he's staying in Italy.
Yeah,
or at least
it should
probably.
Yeah, or at least rumored. So yeah, moving down a little bit, potentially two rumors headed to Trentino. Donovan Dazvranak out of Monza, and then Janir Grebenikov out of ZSP. So that would make. Are they really is Trentino, if they make this move, are they going away from Kaczynski? Are they going away from a three-hitter system?
Part of me thinks that the Italian players might have got some pretty good offers just based on how valuable it would be really tough for them to keep a Spertoli and a Lavia and a Mikoletto. And just Mikoletto alone, I'm sure could command a pretty ridiculous salary now. With that being said, Grebenikov and Zavaranek, two very high-level players too, especially Zavaranek, who I think really took a step this year, at least through the eye test. Maybe stats-wise not as much, but yeah, Grebenikov, I mean, he played on Trentino before. Let's come back home.
Yeah, that would be interesting. And I mean, to add potential credence to that, it looks like Monza is looking at Bednorsh and as well as Gabriele Di Martino. To bring into Monza. So, Dazvranek comes out, Bednorsh comes in for Monza potentially. I've also heard some rumors that Stephen Marr has signed at Monza as well. So that
fresh off the press. Should add it to the volley box section there.
I thought I heard this it was in our Discord chat a long time ago. So yeah.
All these signings are pretty tough to follow in volleyball. It's a lot of closed doors. It's a lot of the player tells a friend, and then the friend tells someone else, and that's how the word gets out. It's not as there's not as many what do you call them? People hunting the news like there are in other sports.
There's not a lot of Wojs around.
Exactly.
Lucarelli is potentially the man who has the most rumors to his name.
Okay.
Rumored to go. I've seen rumors for him to go to Zaksa, to go to Piacenza,
back to Brazil.
To go back to Brazil and play for Minas, or also to Milano, which I thought was the randomest one.
Well, it looks like I like Milano, Piacenza, Monza. Ponying up a little bit, spend it a bit more. That's exciting. There's lots of players to spend money on. I'm down. It'd be so fun if there were 6 teams deep in the Superliga instead of just always 4.
Yeah, I would think that.
Lucarelli kind of had a weird year. I don't think he was bad by any means, But his time in Italy, first on Trentino last year, now in Lube, I don't know. He just seems to fade into the distance. He kind of always seems like a second or third option on whatever team he's on. Whereas, Lucarelli, when I think of him with the Brazilian team, I'm like, damn, like that's Lucarelli. He's like the man on the Brazilian team. So
we thought about that about Douglas as well, though.
Yeah, true. Yeah, the Brazilians, specifically in Italy, have struggled the last few years. And Bruno has struggled this year too. Is Bruno going back to? Is he staying in
I don't know. I haven't seen anything from him. I do think that international volleyball, and I remember talking about this with TJ Sanders last year about how club volleyball is very athlete driven, and international volleyball is very system driven.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. So I think that like we see players like Nishida and Lucarelli who really thrive within a team system, whereas you see maybe other players like I know Namir has had some good times with the Netherlands, but it's still not up to like he's a much better player in a pro system.
I don't know if that's is necessarily his fault.
Okay. Well, I mean, hey, we can look at Leon and how he struggled with Poland.
Everett, can you name me the Dutch setter?
No.
Yeah.
No. So, I mean, wasn't it that didn't he play for Perugia a little while ago?
Well, we have Wessel Kiemink.
Okay.
We have Jijs van Jorna.
Okay. I've heard of Kiemink for sure.
He played backup on Modena 1 year. And
I'm pretty
Jorna
sure he also
he played for the London England club. What are they called?
Oh,
IB
okay.
Bologna.
IBB Bologna. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, my point is.
Yeah. As I go down this list a little bit here, a couple of rumors from Poland. One is Luke Perry going to Gdansk.
Nice.
Interesting signing. I know you're going to be moving to Poland, but I don't know how good like Gdansk is, like a bottom of the table team this year. So interesting.
Gdansk. It's an off year for them. They're usually pretty good, I feel.
You're not wrong. They're usually in the top four. Like they're sometimes a Champions League team. Then the next one there, Thibaut Gassard, heading back to partner with his bang bro. Ooh, shouldn't have probably said that. That came out way worse than I wanted it to. But partnering back up with TJ DeFalco at Resovia.
All right. No, I don't like that though. It's gonna be like they're gonna go to Resovia and then play like shit. Like.
Yeah, you think so?
That's what happened. It's a Resovia curse the last 5 years.
You're not wrong.
every year. Although they've been all right this year. Okay, last one before we tidy up here because we could talk about this for
we could
hours.
Talk about this for a while.
I see Irvin Engapet and Yoandy Leal to Piacenza. So is that really where Piacenza's budget's going to be? That's pretty crazy because even if they don't get those players, if you come waving around like these 100K bills, like there's going to be good players to follow. It's not like you don't really have to actively recruit too hard when you got that much money to spend. So that's really interesting to me.
Yeah, that would be really interesting. I mean, I think Piacenza is really starting to like we already know that they've signed Simone for next year, so that's absolutely huge. And yeah, I think Piacenza is going to be throwing around some money. We already know that Lube is having some budget issues. We've seen Modena talk about it. I'm sure that they're having more budget issues this year because of more matches lost to COVID. They thought they were going to be doing, a deeper run in the CEV Cup, all of these things. So yeah, interesting move there.
Yeah. All right.
Wait. There is one more that I'm seeing.
Okay.
Pavel Pankov to Zenit Kazan.
Okay, makes sense. He's the best Russian setter, so.
But it would also make sense in the sense that what do I mean to call it? But Michael Christensen is going to be leaving. So who's going to be picking up Michael Christensen?
True.
Right, like that is the big like white whale of free agency.
A lot of the big teams seem to already have a good setter, so.
Yeah,
It could
like
end up on.
Gianelli's locked in. We don't really know what's happening with Bruno, but I'm guessing he's locked in at for Modena next year, or he's going to be heading back to Brazil, right? I don't think he's going to be playing for another team in Superlega. Um, who else is elite?
Setter wise, DeCheco.
DeCheco,
Yeah.
obviously. DeCheco is potentially rumored to actually go to Piacenza. So
The DeCheco, the 2013-2014 return of DeCheco to Simone. That was a legendary connection.
yeah.
All right.
All right.
That was a good trudge through the rumors. We'll see which ones come true, which ones don't. Probably some of the ones we did are already probably signed. But anyway, everyone, thank you for listening to another episode of the FiveOne Volleyball podcast. Hopefully, we'll be back in person next week, unless we get more COVID issues. But hopefully not. Everett, thank you so much for joining me. Anything you wanna say to the listeners before we head out?
No, make sure you check us out. Dan will be back on the 9x9 with us next week. If you haven't checked out that episode from yesterday, make sure Wednesday. Wednesday, make sure you go check that out. And tune in check this out next week too.
All right. See ya.